This that I'm going to show you today is one of my favorite steps in making concept art. For those who don't know, usually my process, especially for environments, consists on working my 3D scene on Blender and then continuing the paint over on Photoshop. Personally, I don't really like my artworks to look a lot 3D. I always like to add like some brush strokes and just in general to have that painterly style. So a while ago, I worked on a keyframe in Blender and this was the result. So the other day I found the other shots and I really liked this one, so I decided to make this video to give you a more in-depth look at my Photoshop workflow. To me personally, this is the phase where I really empathize the storytelling of my keyframe. So of course when I work in Blender and even before I do my sketches, of course I have a general idea of what I'm going to do. But sometimes, especially when I do like very quick keyframes just because I want to practice a bit, I always find myself experimenting, especially in Photoshop. So maybe through photo bashing I add new elements, I get new ideas. So I think this is a really creative and fun step that today I want to share with you. Okay, so we are in Photoshop at this point and I wanted to get a clear idea of what needs to be fixed, especially on a technical level. Some areas, as you can see, still feel a bit rough, so we have to fix that. Especially the textures, especially the ones on the statues, are something I definitely want to refine. Then some areas I have to paint over them because are too too 3D, too rough. The next thing I want to do with you is to take some notes. Usually I do this in my head. But yeah, for example, there are zones where the artwork is still 3D, and in some areas, like those ones, I can actually like paint over them, maybe with a textured brush to give some dynamism to that zone in particular. Also, for example, on the soldiers, at the moment you can see just like some black silhouettes. And what I want to do is to try to first of all, like maybe photo bashing some other soldiers so you can actually see the characters, and maybe add some other elements, so I will paint over them to make them not just regular soldiers. Another thing I want to add that I didn't do in Blender is to create a design of a drone, because basically that light is a drone that is following the soldiers. And another idea, as you can see, is that I want to add a small waterfall. I think it can be a nice element to add because it will divide the composition into areas, and it's on the center, so I don't know, I think it's perfect, and I think it's that element that can actually give that something more to the artwork. Now we move on to my favorite part of the process, adding textures. This is where the artwork starts to feel more cohesive and visually interesting. I started with the lake area, and as you can see, I usually just look for textures online, even something simple from Google. Then I usually blend them using modes like multiply or overlay and just tweak it until it sits well with the rest of the scene. After that, I moved on to the statues. I added some rocky textures to give them more depth and make them stand out a bit more. Another thing I like to do with textures is not just placing them as they are, but actually distorting them to follow the shape of the surface I'm working on, like I'm doing right now. And that of course helps everything to feel more natural and integrated into the scene. So here I started painting the two waterfalls. I only used brushes for this part because using a photo felt a bit too artificial, so I preferred to paint them myself. Water is also a very irregular element. It's not like painting a solid object or a character, so working this way felt more natural to me. And honestly, I really like how it turned out. One tip I'd give is to work zoomed out when painting things like this, and in general when you do details, because you can always see the overall direction of your strokes instead of zooming it too much and realizing later that everything looks messy. Finally, I added the soldiers using photo bashing, so yeah, just took some photos and tried to blend them into my artwork. As I mentioned in the beginning, I didn't want the silhouette to remain black, so they really helped to give, of course, also the scale to the scene and make the environment feel more believable. After that, I focused on the atmosphere, adding some fog and mist to create more depth and push the mood of the scene. Basically, this is like the title Lost Land because it's a lost place, it's a place that is magical, but it's also mysterious. We don't know like the reason why this group of soldiers are here. The fact that they are soldiers already tells you that maybe there is something dangerous, or maybe they are looking for something that has a big value, or maybe again something that, I don't know, maybe a creature, maybe something. So it's not actually, it's beautiful, it's atmospheric, but it also gives you that touch of like mystery, like maybe it's a dangerous place. So I also adjusted the lighting a bit and painted over some areas to make everything feel more cohesive. And yeah, so that was it. Let me know your feedbacks. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more of those videos. You can also find me as by Manale in every social media. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next one.